Hi everyone, welcome to episode 31 of the Hilo Stitch podcast, our last episode for 2020, thank God. I'm your host Kristen, and I am here to talk to you about what else? Knitting. I will also be talking about knitting pattern design a little bit, other goings on in the fiber arts community, and there's always a good chance I might mention Diego Luna for no real reason at all. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kristen Janik. I am a knitting pattern designer for a few more days and a knitting instructor. I live in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. with my 2 little boys and my husband, a very tall man from Peru, who is outside making a bunch of racket right now, so apologies. When I am not knitting, I am also interested in yoga, gardening, reading, drinking wine, but it is mostly about the knitting, so let's start talking about it. All right, so how are we all doing? This year, this terrible year, is finally coming to a close. There's no guarantee that 2021 is going to be any better, but it would be hard pressed to be worse. I don't want to give it a challenge or anything, but it has been a rough year, and it is finally coming to a close. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I hope everyone is going to be staying home and safe for New Year's. I certainly am, but to be fair, I've been doing that since we had kids. So we always spend New Year's at home. This year, I think my dad and my sister might come over for dinner and have a New Year's Eve sleepover. That's about all the excitement we will have. We told the kids they could try to stay up until midnight this year if they want to. We'll see. My oldest is a real stickler for bedtime, oddly enough. If he is up just even a little bit past his bedtime, he's constantly drawing our attention to it. Anyway, it is December 29th when I am recording this. So we have just finished up Christmas. Again, we had a very quiet Christmas, and we actually usually do with just my dad and my sister. We, of course, usually go to Mass on Christmas Eve. My dad is a church musician, so we usually will go to whatever church he is currently playing music at. We did not do that this year. We had Zoom church and watched church online. We went to my dad's house for Christmas Eve. In case you have not seen the photos on Instagram, I'm going to go ahead and pop one in here. That's my dad. So my dad is Santa. He is an excellent Santa. So for the last, I think since 2015, he has been playing Santa for the kids. In past years, he has also played Santa at a tree farm near where he lives, just for one day. He did not do that this year, obviously. But for the past few years on Christmas Eve, he has made an appearance to read Christmas stories with the kids. These are the same stories, exact same books that my sister and I read when we were little with my dad on Christmas Eve. I usually give my dad a couple of small toys to give to my boys Christmas Eve, and they're all very excited, and they know it's my dad. They know it's their Jaji, but they think Jaji is Santa Claus, the real thing. So, and we always tell them, no, that's not Jaji, you're just being silly, but they know what's up. They know it's him. They think he's the real deal. So we will let that continue for as long as we can. JJ will be 8 in February, so he's getting close to the age where that probably stops. I hope it will last a little bit longer, especially because he is a terrible secret keeper. So as soon as he knows, my younger son will know. Anyway, so that was our Christmas Eve, just at my dad's house. Dinner and Zoom church, and then Christmas Day, the kids got far too many presents, and then my dad and sister came over to our house and gave them even more presents, and we ate and had wine and had cookies and all of that good stuff. So it was a rather quiet Christmas, but still very nice. We had a very warm Christmas Eve. It was almost 60 degrees, but rainy. And then Christmas Day was quite cold, and there was a chance of snow, but we didn't actually get any. Maybe there was like one teeny snow flurry in the morning, but it's probably better that way. Because people around here cannot drive in the snow. And since then, we have just been sitting around the house. Usually the day after Christmas, we go to a train garden. Obviously, we couldn't do that this year. In my husband's office, because everybody is from, or nearly everybody is from somewhere in Latin America or the Caribbean, most people take very long Christmas vacations and travel back home. So he, I think, is taking 4 weeks off, also because he's about to lose some vacation time. So he's just been, he's been home since March, but he has not been working, and he's been keeping an eye on the kids a bit more, so I can get some work done, which I will touch on a little bit more later. But we are just, very relaxed. It is normal weather here. It would be nice if we got some snow. We did have earlier in December a day with maybe 3 or 4 inches of snow, if that. But no snow now, when it would be a perfect time. The kids are obviously not doing any schooling until after the new year. They have plenty of new toys to play with. So, finishing up the year like we spent most of the year at home, not doing much of anything. So I hope you guys had a nice holiday season. As I said, are getting ready to have a nice, safe new year. I think we're all quite good and ready to say goodbye to 2020. And maybe start things with fresh eyes in 2021, particularly knitting. So why don't we start talking about some of that? On and off the needles, I finished one Christmas gift on time for gifting. I'm going to go ahead and pop a picture in here because, of course, I have already given it away. So I finished the In a Fog Mitts by Allison. I'm going to put it right here. I had it, thought I had it ready, but I lost it. Anyway, the In a Fog Mitts pattern. This pattern includes instructions for both fingerless mitts and mittens. I modified the fingerless mitt instructions to have little half fingers at my sister's request, and upon delivering them, told her that I would not be doing that again. I really hate those little half fingers. You will recall, perhaps in the last episode, that as I was working on those, my son tripped over the project and broke one of the DPNs I needed to knit all those little fingers. I did glue it back together, and it made it through the project, and then I just tossed it out. So I glued it back together. It had broken in 2 places, and that worked okay with some super glue. It was a little bumpy, kind of smoothed it out with the file. And that was working all right, and then apparently he had cracked the tip of one of the needles, which I hadn't noticed, and while I was working with it, the tip broke off. So I was able to smooth that down with a nail file and get through the rest of the project. And then I tossed that needle in the trash. It had done its duty. And I will have to remind myself that I need a new set of US 4 DPNs. So my sister got the Inifog fingerless mitts and coordinating chevroche hat for Christmas. She is the only one that got a finished gift for Christmas. She seemed very happy with them. I was happy to have finished them. They were both fun, easy projects to work on. Beautiful yarn. The yarn I used was Kitty Pride Fibers, Tabby Worsted. I normally prefer, for my superwash merino knitting, I usually prefer something pretty tightly plied. The ply wasn't super tight on this, so I was a little worried it was going to be splitty, but it wasn't. So that's a really nice yarn. And if maybe you are not like me and don't like super tightly plied yarns, maybe you want to check that out. I would certainly work with it again. And I actually have 2 skeins. I bought 2 skeins of each colorway. So I still have 2 skeins unused and at least half of that variegated skein left as well. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a giveaway with it at some point, or maybe I'll keep it for a future project. We'll see. So that is the only thing that I've gotten off the needles, but I'm pretty close on this project that I am knitting on in my lap. So let me just turn it correctly first. All right, so this is the Snuggle is Real Cowl by Maxim Sire, maybe is how you say that. You can check it out for yourself. This is a DK weight cowl with this fun sort of slip stitch pattern. And you can see it looks like it's done, but this cowl actually has a layer inside. So that's what I'm working on now. So the inner layer is knit with 2 strands of a lace weight mohair, or in this case, Surrey alpaca, held together. So you start the cowl with a provisional cast on, work up to the top. After you finish this ribbing, you knit the top edge together with one of these picking up stitches along the last round of that contrast color to give that, to fold it over, and that leads you to be sort of tucked in on the inside. And then you start working that inner layer, and then you'll do the same thing when you get to the bottom of this, knit this together with the live stitches from your provisional cast on. So I'm making good progress on this. This is from my husband, or it will be if I don't steal it. This is going to be nice and warm with that double layer. That Surrey alpaca, really soft, right next to the skin, especially, you know, the neck can be kind of a sensitive area. This is the yarn that I had on hand, but it happens to go pretty well with the rest of the project. Thankfully, I did not want to have to buy new yarn. I mean, tucked inside, so it really doesn't matter, but it is nice for it to be coordinating. I guess you could turn it inside out if you really wanted to wear it that way. I love this stitch pattern. Or sort of plotting to add that to something that I work on for myself at some point. So this has been a really fun project, and hopefully I will get this finished up soon. I don't know why it's taken me so long. It's a really easy knit. I guess it hasn't really taken me that long. It's just that I have so many other things to work on. But let's see, today's Tuesday, and I definitely plan to have this done by the new year. So, and it's not like we're going anywhere. And it's not super cold right now either. You know, daytimes are in the 30s with sun, so my husband certainly isn't going to freeze to death before I finish this. But Oh, and the last thing is that it will have a drawstring around the neck, somewhere around here in this ribbing. Here they are. I don't know if you can. There's two holes for the drawstring, and you make the drawstring with the, just making an I-cord with the, I mean, I guess you could do it with any of the yarns, but it's supposed to be with the lace weight. So that will be the last step. So again, the snuggle is real. This is a really fun worm project, and it's almost off the needles. And my poor dad didn't even get a half-finished project. He got an IOU. I did wind the yarn. I have already thrown the ball band for this out. I forget. I want to say it's like an Ella Ray yarn. I will put it here. This is a sport weight, nice tweedy, kind of rustic, very dad-like, that is going to be for a pair of Pierogie slippers, and that's a pattern by Sarah Jordan, PA Knitwit. I had every intention of at least starting this before Christmas, but again, stuff happened. So I wrapped up this ball of yarn with an IOU for my dad, and then quickly took it back. He'll get them eventually. I think the last pair of socks I knit for him were a pair of, they're Space Invader socks, but I don't think they're called that because the name Space Invaders is copyright. If I can think of what it's called, I will put it in a link in the show notes. And that was ages ago. So he definitely needs another pair of socks. And I'm pretty sure the Space Invader ones are much too big for him, because that was when I first started knitting and I didn't really know about, gauge and measuring and things like that. But I also want to just show you that I'm keeping this ball of yarn that's so far nothing in my cute new project bag. I got this from Sue Triber, something along those lines, on Etsy. I have bought project bags from her before. They're really nice quality. And for Christmas, I got my sister a sort of learn to knit socks. That might be a little ambitious because at this point she's only knit garter stitch scarves. But I think socks are a good project to get people really into knitting, because they use some new skills. They kind of seem like magic when you're turning the heel, but they're not really that difficult, and everybody likes warm hand knit socks. So I got her 2 balls of Knit Picks Felici and a set of DPNs and stitch markers, and my intention was to put it all in a little sock project bag. Unfortunately, the project bag did not arrive before Christmas, but it has arrived now. And when I bought it, I also bought this one for myself. So you can see these cute little kind of Christmas gnomes dancing around all over the place. Really adorable. So this is, the project bag is lined. It has a drawstring, just, nothing fancy, but a nice flat bottom, so it'll stand up on its own. And she really has the cutest fabric, so I will definitely be sure to link to her Etsy shop in the show notes. And that is what I have for On and Off the Needles in this episode. All right, Adelante. We are coming to the end of this segment, but we're not quite there yet. It was my intention to release one final sweater pattern this year, and I just haven't been able to make enough progress to get it done. I have made more progress since the last episode, but just not enough. So very early in 2021, this will be my final project, my final design, but not quite there yet. So, but I have started. So this is a top-down raglan, and I have started the color work at the bottom, and I love it. But you may notice this uses 3 colors, and there are rows where most of the rows you are using all 3. So it is not as fast as sort of traditional Fair Isle stranded knitting. that really slows me down. The chart is 40 rounds, I want to say, and this is 12 rounds done. So it is not fast, especially compared to all this stockinette, but it is underway. I really love the way it is working up. I love the sort of low contrast between the two shades of pink, and then that bit of darker color worked in there, which is actually a very dark brown, not black. So the needles are a little small, so it looks kind of like it's pulling inward, but I'm keeping my floats pretty loose, and I'm not too worried about that. I'm not a very neat float person. This actually looks neater than usual. And because you're using 3 colors, you really are frequently having to catch a color to bring it across. So yeah, it's just a little bit slow going, but I really love how the pattern is working up. And this is really the only difficult part of this, is this chunk at the bottom with the Fair Isle. The rest of this is stockinette. It will have, you know, contrast collar and trim on the sleeves, but this is it. So once this part is done, it should be smooth sailing, and I am hoping in very early January to release this pattern. It has already been tech edited. It is going to be available in 10 sizes. This is an A-line shape pullover, and the sleeves are also going to be kind of bell sleeves, the end just below the elbow. So this is going to be my last official design, and it's almost there, but not quite. I do have one more. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, this pattern will have been released. I designed a shawl wrap pattern for Forbidden Fiber Company's Harry Potter Advent Calendar mini skeins, and I am free to release it as an independent pattern, which is my intention, but I don't want to spoil the colors for the people who purchase the Advent Calendar. So I got some minis from Knit Picks to knit up a second sample, and I sent it to a sample knitter, and it has been sitting at a USPS facility in District Heights, Maryland, which is about 40 miles away. It's been sitting there for 8 days now. And that's all it says, is that's where it is. It took 1 day to get from where the sample knitter is in Ohio to Pennsylvania, another couple of days to get down to Maryland, and it's just been sitting there. There's no updating information on it. I really can't release the pattern without it, even though the pattern is done. As I said, I don't want to spoil the colors in the Advent Calendar, but black and white photos are not really going to sell a pattern. So I am just kind of stuck in limbo. I'm really hoping that's going to be, that by the time, like I said, you're watching this, that's going to be out. It is called the Metamorph Magus Wrap. I just need that sample. I don't know. I mean, I know that the post office has had delays, but a package sitting in my state for over a week seems a little ridiculous. I could just go over there. It would take me an hour to drive over there and get the darn thing. So that, if it has not been released at this point, when you are watching this, it will be released very soon. It is, again, designed for mini skeins that are about 85 yards each, ideally 12, but you can make other kinds of color combinations. I can tell you that it works inward to a point and then outward again with the same sort of mirrored stitch patterns. So you could start with one color, as my sample does. It starts with, my second sample, it starts with one color at the end, works toward the middle, and then works through the colors again backward. So it's sort of a mirror image on two sides of the wrap. But you'll be able to use your mini skeins or scrap yarn or whatever. It's a fun project. It's sort of a non-traditional shape. Hopefully I'll be sharing it with you in the next episode of the podcast, since I can't share it in this one, and that those two are going to be my last two designs. Okay, I do want to flash a couple of stash acquisitions for you real quick. They're somewhere around here. A few weeks ago, I had placed an order at the Knot House, which is not quite my local yarn store. It's about 30 minutes away, but it is up where my dad and sister live, and it is definitely the best yarn shop in the area. So I still consider it my local shop, even though it's not super close by. So I actually placed an online order and had it shipped like you normally do when you order things online. I considered driving up there maybe to pick it up, but it didn't seem, I know that they're, I think, open by appointment or something like that, and it seemed to make more sense and be safer to just ask them to ship it rather than open up the shop in case they weren't already open. And I ordered 2 sets of yarn from them. So this one is a sport weight yarn from Earl Grey Fibers. This is their Matcha Sport, and this colorway is called Snowy Owl. My sister asked for a pair. My sister's just always asking for things I don't enjoy doing. A pair of knee-high socks. She said for Christmas, and I said that's not going to happen. I said maybe for your birthday, which by the time you're watching this is like 10 days away, and they're not going to be done then either, but they might be started. So I got 2 skeins of this. This was actually on sale. It is a sport weight, so it's a little heavier. Should knit up a little faster. I'm not going to do anything fancy, just a basic toe up knee-high sock pattern. She has the same size feet as I do, so I can just kind of use my own feet for a measurement. It's this really cute neutral that should go with, a lot of clothes, little bits of speckles in there, whites and grays. Really cute. As you can see, I haven't even wound it up yet, so we'll see when those socks get started. And then when I ordered that, I decided I've been eyeing these kind of slubby yarns, and they had some. So I figured I'd order a couple and see how I like it. So this is Western Sky Knits. I don't know what this base is called. Slub. Well, that's appropriate. Okay, so it's superwash merino nylon, 438 yards, so like a light fingering weight. This color is called Tarnished. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this. I got about 800 yards total, so maybe a little slippy camisole tank top style thing for the spring. No immediate plans. Something really basic, because I think between the color and the texture, I'm not going to want like any kind of super detailed pattern. I've already made, what's it called? That racerback pattern from Jessie May, which may actually just be called something like racerback tee, or I've already made one of those, but this would be cute for one of those as well. So, you know what? We'll see. I really just wanted to get my hands on some of this slubby yarn and try it out and see what I think. So you can see it has lots of texture. This one's got pretty greens and blues and browns. Who knows what it'll be? That's just something to kind of marinate in the stash for a while. And then I got a couple more when I ordered the stuff for my sister's Christmas Learn to Knit Socks kit. I also ordered a couple of balls of Felici for socks for my kids who hate wearing socks. I mean, they barely do. But they do like rainbows, so I got this one. We'll see. I mean, 50 grams is probably enough for a pair of socks for either of my kids. How many yards is that? 218 yards. I mean, when I knit me socks, it probably uses 250, so it should be plenty for one or the other of my kids, or if I knit ankle socks, probably enough for both. Then I got this one. This isn't really kind of a kid color. This is really more of a grown-up color, so maybe this will be something for me at some point. I really like the colors in here. So this is called Rustic Cabin. That seems about right. And that's very autumny, so blues, browns, reds, golds. Really nice. And of course, Felici is a self-striping. This is a little thin, probably a little thinner than I normally would like for socks, but it is merino and nylon, so it should be pretty sturdy. Have I actually knit a pair of socks with Felici before? I don't know. Maybe I haven't. I feel like I should have. I use Knit Picks yarn for lots of things. I've definitely bought Felici before, but maybe I haven't actually used it for socks, or maybe I've just given them all away. At any rate, so again, a couple more yarns to marinate in the stash and turn into socks at some point. We shall see. So just a teeny bit of stash flash for this episode. So I have a somewhat new segment here on the podcast called Crystal Ball, where I'm going to be talking about future knitting, planned knitting, knitting ambitions. So things that have not been started quite yet, but hopefully will be very soon. So in this one, I want to tell you a little bit about a fun project I have planned for myself for the upcoming year, which is a mystery sock knit along of sorts. I did this back when I first started knitting. I don't remember where I got the idea at the time, but since my sock drawer is running very low, a lot of my socks have just worn out, and the dog is still biting playfully, but still puts holes in things, and that's not helping the sock situation. I thought I would try this project again. So the idea is that you pick, in my case, 6 sock patterns and 6 skeins of yarn to go with them. You pair them up, and then you put them in, ideally, a brown paper bag, something very anonymous, and then when you're ready, I've planned for one every 2 months, you pick a bag at random and you open it up and you find your sock project. You won't know what it is until you open the bag. So I am doing that again, sort of. First, I don't have any of the brown paper bags, so I put everything in Christmas bags, which are not so anonymous, but you know, I'm getting older, my memory's not so great, so it won't take long for me to forget what's in what bag. So I have gone ahead and paired up my patterns and my socks, and I'm gonna pop a little clip in here for you of that. you can see that I've only shown you 5. My plan is to knit those 5 pair and then use all the yarn that is left over from them to knit a pair of fluorite socks, which are a fading sock pattern by Andrea Mowry. So I will pick my first pair on January 1st, and I will start from there. As I said, I've set it up so I can hopefully tackle 1 pair of socks every 2 months, which doesn't seem that ambitious, but I have a lot of sweaters I want to knit this year, and I also have the Finish Fix or Frog event that I'm going to tell you about in the next segment. So I sort of already have a lot of knitting on my plate, and I feel like I might actually struggle with a pair of socks every 2 months. Hopefully not, though. I'm excited about it. I picked out patterns that are relatively basic. There's nothing too crazy going on. I don't like, when I first started knitting socks, I really liked kind of intricate projects. Now I want a project that I can memorize and work on without having to consult the pattern all the time. So all the patterns I have picked are pretty straightforward. I do have a pair of Jaywalkers in there. That was one of the first sock patterns I ever knit. I loved it. I was working on a pair of Jaywalkers on a trip to Belize, and I was mugged and they stole my in-progress socks, so I had to actually start over on a new pair of Jaywalkers, which I had and loved for many years. I wonder if I still have one of them wore out, so I think I might have one Jaywalker around here somewhere. And I'm excited to have a new pair. So all the other sock patterns are new to me, and I'm really looking forward to, hopefully by next fall, if not sooner, having a healthy, renewed sock drawer. So in terms of other crystal ball knitting, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a Make 9 this year. Like I said, I already have a lot on my plate with the socks and the upcoming project. I don't know if it's worth it to do a Make 9, so I'm still kind of wavering on that. So I think by the next episode, I will have decided, and if I am going to do a Make 9 after this year's abject failure, I will let you know in the crystal ball segment in episode 32. You know, we lose the light so early this time of year, and I keep forgetting. It's not even 3 o'clock yet, and it is already getting shady out there. So I'm going to try to quickly tell you about Finish, Fix, or Frog, a 2021 journey. So the idea behind this, for me, was that after 5 years of focusing almost exclusively on knitting for designing, I have just a ton of whips that just, you know, I started them to try to have some selfish knitting, and they ended up just getting shoved aside time and again because I had deadline projects to work on. And now that I am retiring from knit design, I certainly hope, have more time to work on all those personal projects. So I thought for my first year in retirement that I would work on clearing up all of those projects. But chances are there are some that I just am not ever going to finish. So as I was going through my baskets and thinking, I thought this would maybe make a fun knit or crochet along for other people to join in, especially after 2020. I think everyone's feeling kind of stagnant, and again, there are no promises that 2021 is going to be an improvement, but we do have a glimmer of hope on the horizon with vaccines, with a new president who would be hard-pressed to be less competent than the current one. So let's not get into that too much. So there are glimmers of hope on the horizon, and I feel like with that sort of renewed hope that things will start improving, maybe we'll have some renewed energy for finishing, fixing, and frogging projects in 2020. So it is going to be a knit along, crochet along, and it's also going to be maybe a long-term pursuit for 2021 in all areas. So I would invite you to finish, fix, or frog not only your whips and your hand knits, but projects around the house. Finish all those books that you started. Fix up, bits and pieces of your home that have just kind of been, oh, that doesn't work, I'll get to it eventually. Frog things, as in let go of them. Things that aren't working for you anymore, it's time to let go of them. Maybe we can do some of that. So I am going to do a traditional knit along where there will be prizes and sharing on Instagram, and we'll have a chat thread in Ravelry and all of that good stuff. But I'm also going to encourage you to share the other non-knitting and crochet projects that you are finishing, fixing, or frogging in 2021, and I will be doing the same. So in the comment box down below, I am going to go ahead and share a link where you can find more information about Finish, Fix, or Frog. It is predictably mediaperuana.com/finishfixfrog. That's gonna be rough, isn't it? Finish, Fix, Frog. So you can hop on over there, find some more information, perhaps laid out a little more clearly than I am currently doing while blathering. I am going to provide some guidelines to help you gather up all of those projects and sort them out and set up a schedule for yourself and things like that. As I said, we will have some chatter on Ravelry if you're so inclined, but Ravelry is no longer welcoming and accessible to all, so it is certainly not required. We will also be sharing on Instagram if you are a blogger or vlogger or podcaster. Love to have you share things there as well. I will be collecting links and sharing things all throughout the year so we can all support each other as we finish, fix, and frog our way through 2021. All right, last bit for this episode, sweater weather. I am wearing my Diego cardigan today. This is probably my favorite sweater I have ever designed or knit. I absolutely love this. This is my hair's in the way, saddle shoulder cardigan, all over cables, in the back and across the top of the yoke, 3/4 length sleeves, or maybe a little shorter. I'm always a little fuzzy on what you call, I feel like 3/4 is more like here, but they are below the elbow anyway. This is knit in Julie Adeline, however you pronounce it, Nurtured, which is a delightful worsted weight yarn. The pattern includes, I want to say 9 sizes, and it is available in my Ravelry shop and on PayHip. I'm trying to get a good shot of the back. It's hard to record your own back and still see what you're doing. So maybe you can see it has this bit here where the cable branches out a little bit differently. This is a really fun project. As I said, it is my favorite pattern that I have ever designed or knit. The yarn is really nice and warm, so normally I might not want sort of shorter sleeves this time of year, but it is keeping me plenty warm, and I really love this project. So I will definitely include a link in the show notes so you can check it out as well. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 31 of the Hilo Stitch podcast. Links to everything that I have talked about can be found in the show notes at mediaperuana.com/Hilo-Stitch. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons for helping to support the podcast. If you are interested in supporting the podcast and the YouTube channel in general and getting some perks and freebies and behind the scenes goodies, you can find more information on that at patreon.com/mediaperuana. Here on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you would like, share, comment, subscribe, all things that help expand the reach of the podcast and the channel, where I have lots of free knitting tutorials for your use. If you are looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Media Peruana, and I will see you next time. Happy New Year!